Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, which includes full workout footage, a full workout I did, then discussion of a new exercise I'm doing, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skill at my crafting a little bit, and I'm going to start a new series. And now some people are going to go, Jason, that's a little inappropriate. You really shouldn't be discussing these sort of negative predictions, but here's the thing, guys. The reason I'm going to do this is because I've called these others already. I predicted them in less than a year. All right, I called specific people by name, and in less than a year, it happened, and it was blaringly obvious. So I don't think I have magical powers. I don't think I'm a prophet. It was really obvious that's what was going to happen. And it should have been obvious to everyone else out there. Anyone who was shocked, anybody at all who was shocked by these two bodybuilding deaths really needs a wake-up cue. They need to wake up and realize predicting them doesn't even take that much intelligence. If you didn't see it coming, it's kind of scary. You're not paying attention. So by doing this, hopefully we can save lives. We can show people what sort of lifestyles are going to kill you. Because this is stuff that we really need to be concerned with. If we're going to talk about the word fitness, we use this word fitness. I got fitness in my channel. Fitness generally means you're going to have a long, healthy life. In other words, if you're dying before the age of 60 due to your lifestyle, you have no business talking about fitness. I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. So if we have guys dropping in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, or even 50s, and they're fitness icons, this is a problem. This is leading people astray. And so, yeah, I want to start a series, and I'm going to predict people, and I'm not going to just predict names randomly. I'm going to explain why. And at the top of my list right now, who do I think is next? And when I say next, I'm saying 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years, they'll be gone. Now, some people are like, why aren't you going to mention CT? Because we don't need to. CT's already kind of told us. There's nothing to predict. I'm going to assume he's being honest. He's a man of his word. And in my experience with him, that's who he was. I don't think he's lying, which means it's already predicted. I think he's genuine there. So, I'm going to say Cali Muscle. Now, people will say, why? What specifically stands out? His whole lifestyle. His whole lifestyle. And you start looking at the risk factors that are accumulating in his age, because Cali's now in his 40s. When you observe him, Cali sits at over 260 pounds most of the year. Doesn't matter that he's lean. In fact, being 260 lean could technically be more difficult on your heart and harder on you than being 260 and being at 25% body fat or 30% body fat. It's metabolically taxing. It's taxing on your heart. So he sits at 260 plus, and he sits around and he breathes very, very heavy. Do you guys notice I used to breathe pretty heavy? When my body weight was going up, that's no coincidence. No coincidence. If you're 260, you are going to struggle to get air. I don't care if it's from muscle or fat or a combination. Doesn't matter. Guy sits at 260 plus. Sits at 260 plus. Strain on his heart. Look at all the other heart factors you have there. The fact that he's African American. African American men are predisposed to higher rates of heart attack and heart disease. Okay? You've got to pay attention to those risk factors. And that goes to all you guys out there too who listen. You've got to pay attention to these things. Diabetes and cardiovascular disease are major, major risks for the African American community. Major risk. Every medical doctor will tell you that. I'm trying to save you here. Alright, he has a lifestyle that could promote diabetes and definitely heart disease. So what do I mean? Let's look at everything he's got going there. Sits at 260 plus. Does he do cardio? Does he do cardio? No, he weightlifts. Now, there's some cardiovascular benefits to high rep weightlifting, but it's not like he's running around doing a bunch of full body lifts. It's not like he's doing 30 rep squats every day. Bunch of pump and fluff. He does legs like what, once a week? I'm going to say his cardio is not that good at all, and he doesn't do traditional cardio to my knowledge. At least I think he said he doesn't. Alright, being 260 and not doing cardio, massive risk factor. People do drop dead at his age due to those factors alone. That is enough to potentially kill people right there. That's like a 20% chance of dying in your 40s right there. Those risk factors we've already named. He eats an atrocious diet, and I mean one of the worst diets of anybody on YouTube Fitness. He promotes eating top ramen and tuna and did it for years when he was in prison. Years of that. You need to understand, top ramen, even if you're poor, isn't something that you should be eating if you're concerned with health. Go get some rice. It's loaded with trans fats, loaded with vegetable oil. Over time, the effect on your lipid profile, if you were to eat top ramen every day for 15 years, I promise you there will be long-lasting effects on your cardiovascular system. There will be long-lasting effects on your lipid profile. There will be negative consequences. He ate that for years. Eats tons of tuna. Tuna has put people in the hospital who are much younger than him, who are fitness enthusiasts. Mercury poisoning. You can't eat large amounts of tuna. That's been known for over a decade. All right, that is known. The FDA, CDC, everyone else has information. You can find recommendations on safe amount. He exceeds that regularly. In fact, he went and fried a bunch of tuna and ate it on camera the other day. So he eats fried foods like what's in coconut oil. Have you seen the data on coconut oil? There's no reason to think it's a healthy fat, and you sure as hell shouldn't be frying food in it. And he's frying a mercury-laden fish in coconut oil and eating that. Now, guys will say, well, if it fits your macros, he's 260 pounds and in his 40s. You don't play that same game. Diet's terrible. He doesn't eat vegetables. He said he hates vegetables and doesn't eat them. So he eats garbage food, but because he's got so much muscle, he doesn't get fat, because he trains and has a lot of muscle and uses a lot of drugs to help with that. He eats a garbage diet, no vegetables, no cardio, weighs 260, breathes heavy all the time. You can see the strain on his heart already. In fact, I'd venture to say maybe if he went to see a cardiologist, he might already have fluid on his heart. The heavy breathing you see from him, potential medical sign, means he needs to probably consider seeing a cardiologist. Cardiologist is going to tell him to drop down to 200 pounds, which he won't do. That'll be the end of his YouTube career. He can't drop down to 200 pounds. 190, he can't do that. Clearly abuses anabolics. Now you start throwing in those other risk factors, he uses a fair amount. He doesn't just play, he doesn't use little dabbling doses, he doesn't use TRT doses, he uses hefty amounts of gear. He uses a lot of dry gear, possible orals in there. Again, that effect on your liver, that effect on your lipid profiles. Again, orals used for any length of time, lower HDL cholesterol. HDL to triglyceride ratio is the #1 determining factor if you're having a heart attack in the next year. Clearly abuses gear, so he's going to have a low HDL. Clearly eats a lot of really bad fats. Going to raise his LDL. Possible heart enlargement from all the gear abuse, for many years of it. You've got all those factors. Now the other thing, he runs in the pro bodybuilding circles, hangs out with these people, parties with these people. He's talked about he partied with Rich Piana. These guys all abuse street drugs. Polydrug abuse is massive in those circles, so he parties in those circles, hangs out in those circles. He's made jokes about using cocaine and Adderall. I don't think they're jokes. So if he's combining polydrug abuse while weighing 260, stacking possible stimulants like that with hefty doses of anabolics, because he's not using small amounts, guys. You don't get to his size on small amounts of gear, particularly when you don't even know that much about training. His training isn't that good. Certainly not good enough to be anywhere near the size he is without using more gear than's necessary. Combine that with eating a terrible diet, trans fats in your diet for many years, eating no vegetables, doing no cardio, with an ethnicity that's predisposed to heart disease at a higher than normal rate. You can already see the signs. Again, watch his breathing closely. You can already see the signs of cardiovascular disease. He continues to party, gets crazy on camera. Again, the way that he behaves for the camera oftentimes is indicative of certain types of abuse. Callie is a heart attack waiting to happen, the cumulative effect of his lifestyle, because it's not just one or two risk factors, guys. That's the thing that I always try to tell people with these risk factors. Using anabolic is a risk factor. Using high doses of anabolics adds another risk factor. Party drugs is a risk factor. Not eating vegetables is a risk factor. Every risk factor, when you're playing Russian roulette, you're adding another bullet to the gun. It's all a game of chance, but when you add enough bullets to the gun and you spin the chamber enough times, sooner or later it's going to come up hot. All right, he has at least half a dozen major risk factors for heart attack and cardiovascular disease. It's the cumulative effect of his lifestyle, and you can see it already. You can see it in his labored breathing. You can see it with a lot of the things that you observe with him, that he is actually not that far from having a major cardiovascular event. So when you look at that, I think it's fair to say at this point, if we're going to put somebody else in YouTube fitness in the death pool due to their obvious lifestyle and outward signs of poor health developing, Cali Muscle, aka Chuck Basher, aka the Booty Warrior. That's the next one coming up. Wait for it. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, Jason, you're just being a hater. You're being a hater. I tell you what, if I'm right, and within 2 years from now, he drops, you go on ahead and subscribe. If it doesn't, come through and click dislike on every video I make for the rest of my life and your life. And I think that's totally fair. But if I'm right, you owe me a subscription. That's fair, because I know I'm right. I think this one is easy to call. I think it's so easy to call that if I were to bet money on it or gamble on it, it would be a pretty safe bet. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.